All right, and we're really excited about this new wing that we had developed. So we kind of developed this with in mind that people might want different heights. So the way it works is basically it's kind of got like a step riser, kind of like that. So if you wanted to run a lower version of the wing like that, or if you wanted the risers, you just put those on there. I kind of like the tall version, but we'll mock both up and see what they look like. I'd recommend doing a center drill first after you've marked your holes. Either use Dicom or some sort of other clay, blue tape, anything to basically mark where you're gonna drill. Then I would use a small drill bit. Doesn't really matter as long as it's basically smaller than a 1/4 inch, because 1/4 inch is gonna be your final size. The studs and hardware that we provide are 6mm, so a 1/4 inch drill bit will actually allow for a little bit of tolerance and a little bit of forgiveness when you come to drill. Use a countersink or something like that to make sure that you get rid of all the edges and burrs. So we drilled the first 2, we're gonna do the same thing for the back. We can then mock this up to the trunk, and then from there, if we like how that works, we'll take everything off and actually bolt the risers. That's what these 2 holes are for. Those are actually provided hardware, M61, and they hold on those risers, and then the wing holds on to that. Let's do it. All 4 holes are drilled. The thing with the front versus the rear is the front, you can really get to it here. Obviously we gotta clean that burr, but it's the back that kind of like, you know, there's really not any room to get to it. So what I would recommend is actually just kind of cutting that so you have access to it. Otherwise you're really gonna have a hard time, you know, getting in there and tightening it. There's obviously multiple ways you can mount it, but just so you know, like at least when you're aware, when you come to install this, that this is gonna be something that you might have to address. And if you're not okay with cutting up your trunk, this mod might not be for you. Picasso. All right, so now that we got the holes drilled in the car and we've cut our clearance holes, you kind of need to decide what size you want to do here, because you kind of need to mount these risers on first if you're going to run the high version of this. If not, you're still going to have to mount the lower part of the wing, these 2, to here. So this is kind of when you got to decide. We're going to go ahead and mock up both, but the order remains the same. You got to put it together first, then you mount the whole thing as a unit on the car. So how it works is you're going to have this type of flat hardware, and that's basically what bolts this riser to here. You're going to see a clearance hole, and there's going to be a nut that's actually embedded in the wing. You're going to tighten these on both ends first. If you were not going to use this, it would be basically still the same process, but you don't use this, and it gets bolted directly using the smaller hardware, like that. So we'll do both so you guys can see. So this setup is without the risers, uses the hardware, that's the shorter one. And you're basically going to tighten everything here. Use blue Loctite on all this stuff. Tighten everything down. All right, so let's mock it up in low mode. So if you're gonna use the risers, obviously you're gonna bolt all those hardware down, the longer hardware. Use blue Loctite, that way it doesn't come loose. Then you can mount this one on, still using the short hardware as if you were gonna bolt it straight to this. And it just lines up. You got these little circle dowel things that will line up for you. And it's one of those things that if you don't like the seams and the lines, you know, you could always have your body guy blend them in. That's might be what we do. So always an option. All right, let's get it on the car.